The Superintendent and the Naval Academy faculty and staff, welcome to the parents, family, and friends of midshipmen, distinguished guests, and all Naval Academy visitors to our annual Color Parade. Today's parade serves to recognize the companies with the best overall performance in academics, professionalism, and athletics for the fall and spring semesters.
In most academic curricula today, and in most business, government, and military training programs, there is great emphasis on team building, on working together, on building consensus, on group dynamics. You've learned a lot about that. But for everyone who would become a leader, the time will inevitably come when you must stand alone. When alone, you must say, "This is wrong," or "I disagree with all of you, and because I have the responsibility, this is what we will do." Don't kid yourself. That takes real courage.
23rd Company is commanded by Midshipman Lieutenant Caleb Petter Henry of Dallas, Texas.
How do you take any outfit to a higher level of excellence? You must see what others do, cannot, do not, and then be prepared to act on your vision. An additional quality necessary for leadership is deep conviction. True leadership is a fire in the mind that transforms all who feel its warmth, all who see its shining light in the eyes of the man or woman. It is a strength of purpose and belief in a cause that reaches out to others, touches their hearts, and makes them eager to follow. Self-confidence is still another quality of leadership, not the chest-thumping, strutting egotism we read and see all the time. Rather, it is the quiet self-assurance that allows a leader to give others both real responsibility and real credit for success. The ability to stand in the shadow and let others receive attention and accolades. A leader is able to make decisions, but then delegate and trust others to make things happen. That doesn't mean turning your back after making a decision and hoping for the best. It does mean trusting in people at the same time you hold them accountable. The bottom line, the self-confident leader doesn't cast such a large shadow that no one else can grow.
Having been appointed as Second Lieutenant in the United States Marine Corps to rank on the 27th May 2011, do you hereby accept such appointment, and do you solemnly swear that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that you take this obligation freely, without mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office upon which you are about to enter, so help you God. Congratulations, Marines.
The final quality of real leadership, I believe, is simply common decency. Treating those around you, and above all your subordinates, with fairness and respect. An acid test of leadership is how you treat those you outrank, or as President Truman once said, how you treat those who can't talk back. Whatever your military specialty might be, use your authority over others for constructive purposes, to help them, to watch out and care for them and their families, to help them improve their skills and advance, to ease their hardships wherever possible. All of this can be done without compromising discipline or mission or authority. Common decency builds respect, and in a democratic society, respect is what prompts people to give their all for a leader, even at great personal sacrifice. I hope you'll keep these thoughts with you as you advance in your careers. Above all, remember that the true measure of leadership is not how you react in times of peace or times without peril. The true measure of leadership is how you react when the wind leaves your sails, when the tide turns against you. Just to get accepted to the Naval Academy, most of you have probably succeeded, in many cases brilliantly, at pretty much everything you've done, in the classroom, on the playing field, or in other activities. I know this institution has challenged you in new ways, but from here on out it just gets harder. The risk of failure or setbacks will only grow as your responsibilities grow, and with them the consequences of your decisions. So know this, at some point along your path, you will surely encounter failure and disappointment, of one kind or another. Nearly all of us have. If at those times you hold true to your standards, then you will always succeed, if only in knowing you stayed true and honorable. In the final analysis, what really matters are not the failures and disappointments themselves, but how you respond. About 40 years ago, a young ensign ran his gasoline tanker into a buoy, fouling the propeller in the process. Typically a career killer. I work with that naval officer every day. He is now the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Admiral Michael Mullen. To be able to respond to setbacks with perseverance and determination should apply as well to the military institutions you lead. I will never forget the night of April 24th, 1980. I was executive assistant to the CIA director at the time and was in the White House during the secret mission to rescue American hostages in Iran. I had been in on the planning from the beginning, and while the operation was clearly risky, I honestly believed it would work. It did not. And soon images of burnt helicopters and the charred remains of U.S. servicemen splashed around the world. It was truly a low ebb for our nation and for a military that was still recovering from Vietnam. But then the special operations community and the U.S. military as a whole pulled itself together, reformed the way it was trained and organized, took on the corrosive service parochialism that had hobbled our military institutionally and operationally. And so just under a month ago, I once again spent a nerve-wracking afternoon in the White House as a risky special operations mission was underway. When word of a downed helicopter came back, my heart sank, remembering that awful night 30 years ago. But this time, of course, there was a very different result. A mass murder was brought to a fitting end. A world in awe of America's military prowess. The country relieved that justice was done, and frankly that their government could do something hard and do it right. And a powerful blow struck on behalf of democratic civilization against its most lethal and determined enemies. So I want each of you to take that lesson of adaptability, of responding to setbacks by improving yourself and your institution, and that example of success with you as you go forward into the Navy and the Marine Corps you will someday lead.
Once again, Second Lieutenant Michael Rossetti. Class of 2011, please rise. I propose 3 cheers for those we leave behind. Hip hip! Hip hip! Hip hip!
The qualities of leadership I have described this morning do not suddenly emerge fully developed overnight or as a revelation after you have assumed important responsibilities. These qualities have their roots in the small decisions you have made here at the Academy and will make early in your career, and must be strengthened all along the way to allow you to resist the temptation of self before service. As I mentioned earlier, this is my last address to America's service academies, my last opportunity to engage the future leaders of our military as your Defense Secretary. As I look out upon you this morning, I am reminded of what so struck and moved me when I went from being a university president to U.S. Secretary of Defense in the time of war. At Texas A&M, I would walk the campus and I would see thousands of students aged 18 to 25, typically wearing t-shirts and shorts and backpacks. The day after I became Secretary of Defense in December 2006, I made my first visit to the war theater. And there I encountered other young men and women, also 18 to 25. Except they were wearing body armor and carrying assault rifles, putting their lives at risk for all Americans. And I knew that some of them would not make it home whole, and that some would not make it home at all. I knew then that soon all those in harm's way would be there because I sent them. Ever since, I have come to work every day with a sense of personal responsibility for each and every young American in uniform, as if you were my own sons and daughters. My only prayer is that you serve with honor and come home safely. I personally thank you from the bottom of my heart for your service. Serving and leading you has been the greatest honor of my life. May you have fair winds and following seas. Congratulations.